Now, of course, onto the NFC North's unofficial owners, the Green Bay Packers. We'll look at what they can do in a post-Davante Adams era where they still have Aaron Rodgers. They can still rely on really good quarterback play, but they're lacking a lot of really important tools. So let's get into it. What's up, guys? I'm Tyler Coker, and I'm your host for today's episode of Today with Tyler. I hope you enjoy. First, we'll go with their free agents. Their key free agents included Davante Adams, Kevin King, Robert Tonyan, Devondre Campbell, Alan Lazard, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, and Economius St. Brown. So a lot of guys that did move and a lot of guys who probably should have moved. Unfortunately, Devondre Campbell may have been one of the more important ones. So looking at their offense, Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers. He's won 2 straight MVPs, and there's no question that he is extremely good. He has carried a team that really hasn't given much talent, aside from the occasional one. And so he was lucky that he had Davante Adams. But after Davante Adams, there wasn't any receiving talent. And so it's always been a struggle for Aaron Rodgers to be able to fully develop his playbook and to fully go through all of his reads, because you can see at times that he just doesn't trust his young receivers. That's going to be even worse this season because now everyone is young and inexperienced. They're probably going to have a rookie or two. They're going to have a lot of wide receivers who simply haven't been good for him over the history of his time as a quarterback. Their wide receiver depth is just gone now that Davante Adams left, and so they really have to pick it up and be able to draft really well and get some really good players for a really good value in order to actually get anything from this season and be able to actually do something in the playoffs. Because when you aren't winning with Davante Adams, it's going to be hard to win without Davante Adams. Added on to that is their lack of a good tight end. Robert Tonyan is okay at best, but in the end, if you really have no wide receivers, you should probably have a good tight end, and they certainly don't have a good tight end. So a lot of concerns coming in the receiving side of the ball just because there's no talent there. And while Aaron Rodgers can elevate a lineup, how far is really the question. The run game is solid, but without the deep pass threat and a dying offensive line, there isn't necessarily that much promise that they can carry amazing production in next season either. The combination of Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon is really powerful, and it's fun to see Dillon just smash through defensive lines when it gets kind of cold. Without David Bakhtiari, the offensive line really struggled last season, especially against really good fronts. Dennis Kelly turned out to be their best tackle, and their interior linemen in John Runyan, Josh Myers, and Lucas Patrick all had their fair share of struggles in 2021. Their line will directly impact the success they see next year, just because if Rodgers has time, he might be able to actually begin to trust those new receivers, but if not, he's not going to have a crutch to go to like he did with Davante Adams. Moving on to their defense, their box struggled mightily, but it had many bright spots. Linebackers Rashawn Gary, Devondre Campbell, and Preston Smith all did very well, and nose tackle Kenny Clark played at a high level as well. Unfortunately, their defensive ends Dean Lowry and Tyler Lancaster couldn't back that play up, and their inside linebacker Chris Barnes struggled as well. They worked, but they could seriously improve upon their weaknesses to actually find more success in the box. The secondary, though, is really good. They were one of the best pass defenses in the entire NFL, and that's with a sack percentage of 6.47%, and that's just above NFL average. So you're not getting pressure, but you're still able to cover. That is an extremely good sign as a roster who's going to have to rely more and more on the defense as the offense continues to struggle. They allowed the 4th least pass yards per attempt, and even with Jair Alexander being hurt for much of the season, the cornerback combination of Eric Stokes and Rasul Douglas worked extremely well, and strong safety Adrian Amos had himself a great year too. Unfortunately, free safety Darnell Savage wasn't necessarily good, especially against the run, and he's certainly the area for improvement for the secondary. The Pack definitely has a lot of optimism for their defense, but it may have come a little bit too late with people like Davante Adams leaving. So key positional needs are offensive guard, wide receiver, defensive end, free safety, and offensive center, which isn't necessarily ideal, but luckily they have a lot of draft capital now. So let's go see what they can do. An ideal draft for them might be in the first round, taking first Tyler Linderbaum, the Iowa center. There's a chance that because of his positional value, he might fall all the way to 22. That would be a fantastic pick for such a really good interior lineman. And if not, taking someone like Kenyon Green, or if you're lucky and Zion Johnson's there, pick him as well. And then also in the first, taking someone like Drake London, the USC wide receiver, or even Treylon Burks, someone who will be there, is going to be very helpful for their team because they need a good, strong wide receiver, and Davante Adams always has that size advantage. And getting someone like Drake London, who kind of plays with that size advantage, is really good. It could also happen that they go elsewhere with their first pick and instead go with someone like Christian Watson in the second round, because Christian Watson is one of those players that is coming from a small school, so he doesn't have as much value, but is extremely promising and will probably be tearing apart secondaries really, really soon. Going into the second, I'm taking Sam Williams, the Ole Miss edge rusher, just because they need one. And then in the third, Brandon Smith, the Penn State linebacker, since they also need another one. So they have a really good system to work with, but they do need some serious wide receiving depth. And luckily, this draft class is so stacked with wide receivers that I'm not really worried, because even in the 7th round, there are players that I would want to have on my team. So hopefully the Packers draft well, because then you're going to have a really good team, even without Davante Adams, and the trade won't look so bad for you after all. Thank you for listening to the Green Bay Packers.